Let's talk about one of the most valuable assets that you have, mental clarity. Because in business, clarity is currency. When you're clear, you make sharp decisions. You communicate with confidence. You're productive, creative, and in control. But what happens when our clarity slips? When you walk into a room and you forget why, you reread the same line 3 times, or you can't find the words that used to come so easily. That's brain fog. And here's the most frustrating part. Brain fog is like phantom. It doesn't show up on your labs. Your doctor says everything looks normal, but you know something is wrong. I know because I've been there. And brain fog isn't random. It's your system sending you a warning. Now let's clear something up. Brain fog isn't just one thing. It's complex, and that's why it's often dismissed. Plus, you're unique, so there's bio-individuality. But if you secretly have concerns about brain fog or mental clarity and your doctor has told you everything looks normal, stay tuned. I'm going to give you 3 ideas of where to look to gain some relief and gain clarity. First, let's start with your gut and your microbiome. Your gut is often called your second brain, and when it's out of balance, your clarity goes with it. I see this most often with candida overgrowth, which is yeast fermenting sugars into chemicals that cloud our brain. But it can also be bacterial imbalance. Too few of the good guys, too many of the bad guys, and then there's also parasites and pathogens that can be quietly draining your energy. On top of that, histamine and other immune-mediated responses can trigger brain fog after meals. This is why I guide my clients through a system optimization protocol, which is an elimination style reset to help identify which foods are triggering these reactions. If you want to test, you can take something called a mediated response test that measures how your body reacts to different foods. But your gut is closely linked to your mental clarity. And if your doctor says he can't find anything, then he's not looking close enough at your gut. The second is stress and cortisol. If you're a professional watching this, you clearly have a lot of stress and probably are pumping out lots of cortisol and adrenaline to keep you running. I know, because I did it for years and years, not only in my IT career, but also as a small business owner, to be honest. That cortisol or adrenaline can feel like energy, but over time, cortisol is very catabolic, meaning it breaks down tissue. And so chronically high or dysregulated cortisol hijacks your executive function in your brain. And that's why decision making feels harder, especially towards the end of the day. You may have heard the term decision fatigue. We also can only make so many decisions in a day. And that's why high performers will often put systems in place or structures in place, like maybe choosing your outfits, your clothes for the week in advance so that you don't have to make those decisions every single day. Reserving our capacity to make decisions is helpful. It's helpful to have ways to combat the stress or to relax. I know it's easier said than done. We'll talk more about that in another video. Okay, third is hormonal and emotional issues. And I put those together because in midlife, which most of my clients are in midlife, we're having hormonal shifts that can cause cloudy thinking, estrogen, testosterone, thyroid imbalances. Those all play a role. And then we have existential stress, which I think is also very common for those in midlife. Maybe wondering what comes next, or possibly how did I get here? Where did half my life go? We have existential stress. We also have a lifetime of trauma and grief. And that is not just the trauma or grief that happened yesterday. That could be trauma or grief that we have been carrying for a very long time. This will contribute to brain fog. So yes, brain fog is multifactorial. If I could give you one thing to change that I have seen make the biggest improvement for people coming to me with brain fog, concerned about cognitive decline or lack of mental clarity, it is to remove all processed foods, because processed foods fuel all 3 of those things that I just mentioned. Now, in my textbook on processed food addiction, we learned that many of the ingredients in processed food disrupts the microbiome of the gut. Many of them are very starchy and high in carbohydrates, so they feed candida overgrowth. Too much candida, too much yeast. That will definitely cause brain fog. Shockingly, the brain scans that are shown in this textbook show that many processed foods cause stress for our body, which puts us into our limbic brain or into survival mode, which vacates our ability to access the prefrontal cortex or the executive function. We also know that it can worsen hormonal imbalances, and it hijacks our dopamine, our reward centers in our brain, and we're getting a quick hit, but then we have a crash. So I've just seen measurable improvements with clients when they do this one simple thing, and that's to remove processed food. That one change alone has restored clarity in ways that no supplement ever could. Why are processed foods such a problem? Well, if you saw the video that I created on the addictive food business model, which I find intriguing because my background is in business, my degrees are in business, spent many years in a Fortune 100 company, and now my passion is food, but now I see where business has affected food. And the addictive food business model uses the 5 A's to hook us on their food. They have an addictive formulation. They use a lot of advertising. They made it extremely affordable. It's accessible. I mean, it's available everywhere. And they targeted lower ages. This is where I think the manipulation just goes a little far, but the younger they are, the younger the customer, the longer the lifetime value. Some of our, food addictions might actually have started in childhood. This is not a lack of willpower. These foods were engineered to light up the dopamine pathways like a drug. So you get a quick spike, a quick crash, and over time they can even have like a morphine effect, and that morphine effect sedates you. So then we're fatigued. Then we lose access to our executive function and we can't make decisions. Now, I teach corporate teams on how convenience kills creativity. We have convenience in a lot of areas of modern life, but let's just start with convenience foods killing our creativity. The more we rely on these quick fixes, the more we give away our mental edge. I mean, here's a true story. I had a corporate executive who told me she was not going to give up her skinny pop during my detox program. And her reasoning was, it's only 35 calories. When you go through my system optimization protocol, you'll discover that calories are not important. What we need to discover is what works for you and what doesn't. And she discovered on her own that the skinny pop was contributing to her health issues. Once she removed it, she felt better than she had in years. You may have something like that in your own routine, something that might even seem harmless or even marketed as healthy, but it could be the very thing that's holding you back. And I'll never say you can't have any processed foods. The goal is to find what works for your system and what doesn't. For now, just consider this. You may not even know how good you could feel because you've been operating in a fog for so long. The deception about our food runs pretty deep, and I would say that most people are just not informed. If you clicked on this video because you're worried about your mental clarity, I want to give you hope. Here's a few things that you can do right away. Can you spot the processed foods in your day? Because they might be innocuous, like as simple as the creamer you put in your coffee. How many packaged or convenience foods did you eat today, maybe without even realizing it? We tend to be on autopilot. How often are you eating out? Not just fast food, but any restaurant where you don't control the ingredients. Do you feel foggy after meals or more so at the end of the day? And most importantly, I want you to consider what this brain fog is costing you. Has it held you back from a promotion, a new career, or even chasing your dream? I know because I've been there. Here's how I want you to see brain fog. It's not just a sign of aging, because I'm aging, and mental clarity is very important to me. Just like in IT, when I would get error codes, those are signals that are pointing to, system failures, and we have to find those system failures. Some of those error codes might be that you're feeling too fatigued to exercise or do something you love. You're procrastinating or avoiding tasks that you used to handle with ease. You're losing creativity or the sharpness that used to come naturally. I lived with this myself. At 36, I had fibromyalgia, type 2 diabetes, and my triglycerides were over 300. My labs didn't show brain fog, but I sure as heck knew I had brain fog. What I discovered is that symptoms are not random, they're signals. And I'll leave you with this. If you're ready to stop guessing and you're ready to reboot, I do have a system optimization process that I take people through that will give you clarity. Think of it like a personal development exercise, because brain fog is costly. It could be costing you the confidence to start that business idea that you've been sitting on. It could be costing you productivity, and it could be costing you a dream. If you're anything like me, then you value your mental clarity and your energy, and I will till the day that I leave this earth. I hope that something in this video has been helpful to you. If you know someone struggling with mental clarity or brain fog, please share this with them and reach out if you'd like to connect.